welcome back to EDH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and we got March of the Machine spoilers, more March of the Machine spoilers. We got a few back, I guess, at the start of the month, or was that last month? A couple of weeks ago, and now we're getting, I think, the full set coming out now. So as usual, I like to take a look at these brand new legendary creatures, of course, because they're eligible to be commanders, and that's really the most important thing in the commander format. So let's take a look at some of them. And first up, we have a new Brimaz. Very interesting, a white-black one. So Blight of Oreskos, 2 white and a black Frixian cat. So Brimaz has been Frixianized or completed. 3/4, whenever you cast a Frixian creature or artifact creature spell, incubate X. Oh boy. Where X is the spell's mana value. Okay, so we have Frixian Tribal, which I imagine has been a long time coming. I think people were expecting at some point to get a Frixian Tribal commander. This is also artifact creature, right? So first of all, it has to be it has a cast trigger, right? So that's very important. This is not ETB or anything. It's whenever you cast. So you actually got to, I mean, you don't have to pay for it, but you have to cast it. It's Frixian creature or artifact creature, but, you know, and obviously you could put a sad robot or burnished heart and stuff like that, incidental artifact creatures, but I think people probably are mostly going to go Frixian creature with this because, of course, we have a ton of artifact creature tribal commanders already, even though not really any in Orzhov colors. Still, though, that's been done to death. Time for some new blood here, and this is a Frixian creature commander, and I'm sure that's what people are going to do with it. But what the heck is incubate? Create an incubator token with X +1/+1 counters on it and pay 2, transform this artifact. It transforms into an 0/0 Frixian artifact creature. What? So you're going to cast a creature. Again, let's say it's our Solemn Simulacrum, right? That is the mana value of 4. So we're going to incubate 4. So when we cast our sad robot, we're going to create an incubator token with X +1/+1 counters on it. So the token is just just a regular old token that isn't anything at all. I mean, it's not a creature, right? But then you're going to pay 2 and transform this. Oh, it's an artifact. It transforms into an 0/0 Frixian artifact creature. So what you're going to get is you're going to get a 4 mana value creature. So what's happening here essentially is every time you cast a Frixian creature or an artifact creature, you are getting a token as well that is going to be the power and toughness, but with counters, which is important. You could very easily do a +1/+1 counter sort of sub-theme in this deck. But every time we cast those Frixian and artifact creatures, they're going to then be able, they're not going to immediately be a creature. You got to pay 2 and flip them over. And also has, at the beginning of your end step, if a Frixian died under your control this turn, proliferate. So works with the +1/+1 counter theme. Not bad. You know, at first I'm like, okay, it's a little boring because it's just Frixian creature tribal, but they're doing it in a very interesting way here, where you now have token creation, you got +1/+1 counters, you got transform. There's actually quite a bit going on here, and the art is pretty amazing too. All right, let's move on. Bright Palm Soul Awakener, and this is not one I'm familiar with at all. Is this a character already? I don't think so. So it's Nio, 1 red, green, and a white fox shaman 4/3, has backup 1, another new ability. Whenever this creature enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. If that's another creature, it gains the following ability until end of turn. And the following ability does what? I hate when they don't explain what cards do on the card. Whenever this creature attacks, double the number of +1/+1 counters on target creature. That creature can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less this turn. Okay, so we're in a +1/+1 counter theme, right? Whenever this creature attacks, double the number of +1/+1 counters on target creature. So it can be your commander or another creature. That creature can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less this turn is pretty good. I mean, it probably would be better to have the reverse, but it's still pretty good. Essentially, it can't be chump blocked. You have to block with something significant, right? So, I mean, we're in a Naya +1/+1 counter theme here mostly. We don't know what that following ability does. So it's kind of weird that they have this new ability backup. And the new ability is referring there to another new ability. I don't love that. I also don't love another mechanic that is just putting +1/+1 counters on stuff. It's just doing it in a little bit different way, like support, monstrosity. You know, we have all of these adapt. I mean, how many mechanics are there already that put a +1/+1 counter on a creature? So I don't love that, but I guess what matters here is what that following ability does. If it's another creature, it gains the following ability. So if you're putting it on your commander, it just puts a +1/+1 counter on it, and then you can attack with it, double the number of counters on it, and then it also can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Again, unless that following ability is really, really interesting, it's a little on the boring side, I gotta be honest. Moving on to Gimbal Gremlin Prodigy, 2 green, blue, and a red Gremlin Artificer 4/4. So we have a Teamer Artificer, and it's a Gremlin. Pretty sure that's our first Gremlin commander. Artifact creatures you control have trample. Okay. Wow, Artifact Creature Tribal and Teamer colors now? We got so much Artifact Creature stuff from Warhammer 40k and then Brothers War. And now we're getting more even. And I mean, even in Frixian All Will Be One had quite a bit. There's so much Artifact Creature Tribal, you know, just commanders in general, and then also tribal support. At the beginning of your end step, create an 0/0 red Gremlin Artifact Creature token. Put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of differently named artifact tokens you control. Okay, that's pretty interesting. At first I'm like, okay, this is very similar to like Urza, like the new Urza, just Artifact Creature Tribal, making a token. But you're going to put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of differently named artifact tokens you control. That's definitely throwing things for a loop. The question is, how much do you want to build around that, right? Is it worth it to have, like if I have a Thopter token, a Servo token, and a Treasure token, those are 3 differently named artifact tokens. Now the token I am making, it concludes itself, right? It's an artifact token, differently named. Yeah, so it's including itself, because it's making a Gremlin token, which is entirely unique. That's the first time we're ever seeing that. So now I have 4 artifact tokens with different names, so I'm going to get 4 counters on this guy. That's a lot of work, though. I mean, it's interesting. You know, it certainly isn't powerful. It is interesting to look up all these different artifact tokens. They don't have to be artifact creatures, just artifact tokens, right? And again, there's lots of interesting ones, like, for example, is it Farid or something? That red guy that came out in Brothers War. You know, he makes a scrap token. It's just it's an artifact token that doesn't, again, just like the incubator thing, it doesn't do anything. It just sits there. There's an artifact. That would be an interesting inclusion in this deck, because it's making tokens that are going to be differently named than anything. There's no other card in the game that makes tokens like that, right? So that part about this build around would be really interesting and fun. At the end of the day, though, you're just making a big artifact creature that is then going to have trample. I mean, you got your win con stapled on your commander, I guess, so you could mostly just build around the whole I'm figuring out differently named artifact tokens. So pretty interesting. Teamer colors for Artifact Tribal. Very interesting. Okay, moving on. Kasla, the Broken Halo, 3 white, red, and a blue. So a Jeskai Angel commander. 6 mana is quite a lot, so this better be a pretty powerful ability. It's an Angel ally, so you could do some ally support here, obviously. Angel support as well. Do we have, I know we've had, like, Lightning Angel is a Jeskai Angel, famously, you know, a good one. I don't think we've had a commander in these colors, though, so that right away is probably going to attract some people. It's a 5/4, has Convoke, which is great to have Convoke on your commander. I have a Benny Brax deck, got Convoke on there. It's really easy to recast your commander if it dies again. Even getting it out the first time is a lot easier. Convoke is a great ability to have on your commander. So the 6 is not looking so bad anymore. Flying Vigilance and Haste, so looking a lot like that Lightning Angel, right? I think those are the exact same abilities. Whenever you cast another spell that has Convoke, scry to the draw card. Wow. A Convoke commander. Speaking of the Convoke here, so I guess you could put Benny Brax in this deck, but I don't know if you would, because Token Tribal is probably not something you're going to do here. Now, I would say missing out on green here isn't great. This would be a lot better maybe as a teamer. I think Naya, maybe, no, Bant? I think Bant would probably be the 3 colors I would most want for a Convoke commander, I think. Because probably the best Convoke card maybe ever is Court of Calling. So you're missing out on Court of Calling here. I will point out you are playing a 3-color deck here, but Convoke includes the color of the thing you're tapping. So you could tap your Kasla to convoke something out, and you can include the blue, red, or white mana. So it does help. Like, Convoke's a really powerful ability, and you can reduce it entirely to 0 too. It's very easy to convoke stuff and not pay any mana. In fact, you could cast a convoke spell, like a Return to the Ranks is one I just mentioned in a video. Yeah, I mentioned it in my personal decks video, right? That's a great spell. You could put it in this deck, and you could pay 0 into it just to get this trigger. Right? You can return nothing. I mean, you can try to return something, but you could just pay the white, and you can convoke it, obviously. And this is whenever you cast another spell that has convoke, so you don't actually have to pay the convoke, but you cast your Return to the Ranks for 0, return nothing, and you get the Scry 2 and draw a card. That's not bad, right? You know, if you're looking for spells that cost 1, would be ideal here, and they're essentially a ponder, because you're going to pay 1 mana, Scry 2, then draw a card if they have convoke. And I think you probably could find a couple. So that's an interesting way to, just lots of value, digging into your deck really deep. Drawing card triggers, obviously, on commanders are always good. Pretty great payoff. Your commander also is a 5/4 flying vigilance haste. That's no joke. But again, you're just going to do the deep dive into Convoke and see what fits. This is going to be a popular one, I think, for sure. Of the ones I've talked about so far today, I think this will be the most popular. All right, last one today is going to be Siddhar Jabari of Zhalfir. And we have Siddhar. The original Siddhar Jabari is a mono-white commander that I believe has flanking. And when it attacks, you tap a creature an opponent controls. This is Siddhar Jabari, the actual guy of Zhalfir. So he's going to be Esper now. 1 white, blue, and a black. Human Knight 4/3 has Eminence. Oh boy, they're bringing back the Eminence. And I will point out, by the way, we got the different symbol here, the different set symbol on this than the March of the Machine one. So I imagine all these commanders I'm talking about today are from the precons, right? So it's got the Eminence ability, which I think generally everyone had sort of agreed that was not a good idea, to have your commander do stuff from the command zone without you ever having to cast it. I don't think they should have ever done that, but anyway, whenever you attack with 1 or more knights, so we're in Knight Tribal, if Siddhar Jabari of Zhalfir is in the command zone or on the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. Oh boy, so absolute slam dunk in this. The first card you put in this deck is one of my all-time favorites, which is Hakon Stromgold Scourge, Knight Tribal, and it's very easy to get it into your graveyard because your commander has a loot ability. Wow, what a slam dunk. It's almost like they made this commander just for that card. Very easy to loot, because whenever you attack with 1 or more knights, you get to loot, discard that Hakon into your graveyard, then cast it from your graveyard, and you can start going to town. We're in Esper colors, so we can put Court Hussar in here as well, which is a great combo with... in fact, most of the Esper cards are great combos with your Hakon. Man, it's almost like they made this... I made an Esper Hakon deck with Chromium. And it's almost like they made this commander just for that scenario. So Court Hussar you can play and then not pay the white. I believe it's a blue creature. You don't pay the white and it immediately dies. And you get to look at the top 3 cards of your library every time you cast it and just let it die over and over again. Anyway, we got more stuff going on. That's already a great ability that is very easy. Like, we're in Knight Tribal, Esper Knight Tribal, which we have not seen before. Lots of support, especially in the Orzhov colors for Knights. Looting is tons you can build around there. You're getting extra draws. You're getting discard triggers. Obviously, there's a lot you can do with the discard triggers. Especially, I'd say black has probably got the most support there. 4/3 flying first strike. So your Siddhar Jabari is now flying. When Siddhar Jabari deals combat damage to a player, return target knight creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Wow. Man, that's really good. This deals combat damage to a player, which of course your commander is flying. That's not hard to do. So they really did, like, Hakon that's the best card in this deck, I think. Yeah, for sure. So good. Yeah, this is a fantastic Knight commander. Maybe the best. Maybe the best. It's got the Eminence ability, which is great. The looting is fantastic. You can even build around that a little bit. You're shoveling cards into your graveyard that you can cast with your Hakon. But you can also get out of the graveyard with your commander. Auric Lore Mage is another card that you're going to want to for sure put in this deck, because I can just chuck those knights, right? And you can look for stuff that's going to solve problems. Again, that's really important here. That's the kind of stuff I like to do when I'm building decks like this, is do a toolbox theme where I'm finding knights that are solving problems. Obviously, you're going to want like the Knight Tribal, like the knight that makes your stuff indestructible. Can't remember what it's called. You also have the knight that gives all your knights double strike. That one's going to want to go in here as well. But then knights that are solving problems for you are also really nice. And you can, like Auric Lore Mage, shovel them in your graveyard and then cast them. Or I guess you're just returning them from your graveyard to the battlefield. So you're in that theme as well. Wow, this is a great commander. This is going to be a really... This actually might have Castle beat as far as the ones that people are really going to go after, because there's a lot you can do here. You're in really great colors in Esper. Yeah, great commander for sure. All right, that is it for today. 5 more commanders from March of the Machine. And I believe, like I said, all these are from the pre-cons. The set will be coming out in, I think, about a month. A little less than a month maybe now. So, of course, we're going to be getting spoilers coming out in the next couple of weeks. And I will be covering a fair amount of them. The legendary creatures, of course, I like to talk about. Let me know what you guys think of these new commanders in the comments below. That is it for today, and thanks for tuning in.